It's more about understanding what people are searching on search engines, understanding the trends, and writing based off of those topics. And if you can align those topics to your ideal customer or to somebody who is willing to purchase services online.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the LowCode Podcast. Today we have a great guest, Arrigo. He's from Italy. He's a content marketer. He's great at content. He helped us a lot at LowCode with our content strategy and figuring out who's our client, who should we target. And that's the goal of today's podcast. We want to learn more about how to get your first users. Something that a lot of our clients struggle, a lot of small and medium businesses struggle, especially when they have an app or their business is tech-based, is they get an app either with no code or low code or code, whatever, and then how do they get their first users? And Arrigo is very good at that. So I'm very happy to welcome Arrigo. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. And that was an awesome introduction. So thank you very much for welcoming me. And I love the topic. So happy to share my knowledge.
So let's start. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up learning about like content and marketing and user acquisition.
Yeah. So I started as a writer, as a hobby. Primarily, it was just my passion. But then eventually kind of snowballed into blogging because I wanted to share what I was writing online. And I knew that if I was just going to be a perfectionist, I wasn't really going to achieve anything because I had to just push out stuff and try new things and see if they stuck. Essentially. And so I just started a blog, started writing some short articles, tried a few things on social. But then as I went on, the more I experienced how blogging works, the more I realized that it's all about marketing. It's not necessarily just writing itself. It's more about understanding what people are searching on search engines, understanding the trends, and writing based off of those topics. And if you can align those topics to your ideal customer or to somebody who is willing to purchase services online, to purchase products online, that's really powerful for the long term because search engines allow you to get traffic consistently over time. And that compounds over time and it gives you a lot of power over competitors as well.
Yeah, something I do like blogs and doing good content. And I think you and I agree on this because with ads, you're spending money every day, right? And you show an ad, but then it doesn't convert. So you already spend money. With content, it might take longer for like to get results, for you to show up on Google on the first page or whatever. But then when it does, and if you keep up the good content, you stay there. And then it's not free, right? Because you're paying for content or you're writing it yourself. But probably, and sometimes people would rather click on the first or second or third link that's not an ad. So you see a bunch of ads and then you find like a first. And the goal is to be there, right? So like it's high intent keywords. Is that right? The right term?
Yeah, they're very well, if you're comparing like advertising with just organic content marketing, which is the technical term, they're very different customer acquisition strategies because as you said, in advertising, you have to pay attention to how much you're spending compared to exactly how much you're getting back. Whereas with content, it's more about, are we establishing ourselves as a powerful brand in our niche? And are people recognizing us as the place to go to learn about a specific topic? And if the answer to that is yes, then you're getting a lot of value out of content. It's not easy to achieve for sure.
Right.
But it's very powerful, and that's why you hear about niches all the time, because it's very powerful in specific areas that can serve national audiences or even international audiences that may be interested in a very small niche.
So,
or even kind of like mid-market, I would say.
Okay. With LowCode, you helped us with that strategy and content marketing. But does that work organic search, does that work for everyone? Or is there like a niche or an industry, or let's say a type of app or a type of business that where organic is not the right choice?
Mm-hmm. I've actually had quite a few experiences, quite a few failures, let's say, when I first
Okay.
started doing content marketing, where I consistently saw that mobile apps, like native mobile apps, was really hard to pull off with
Okay.
content marketing, because the idea is to get feedback quickly using downloads and making sure that you get users on the phone rather than looking for stuff on search engines. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I always struggled a little bit with. I didn't quite understand it. Whereas when you're looking at a platform or something that has to be content based, or even services is huge with content. Like, because people are constantly struggling to get stuff done for their own business, and
Mm-hmm.
they can't quite put their finger on what that is, right? And
Yeah.
so they search for that on Google. And services is huge. Is the best niche, is the
Okay.
best part of doing content marketing. So if you say SaaS, for example, which is software as a
Mm-hmm.
service, that's the same thing, right? It's a service at the end of the day.
Right. True.
Mm-hmm.
So let's backtrack. Let's start at the beginning. So one
Mm-hmm.
of the things when you are working with content or creating a content strategy, probably, I guess you'll tell us if I'm wrong. The first thing that you have to do is figure out who is your client or who is your customer or who are you
Yeah.
creating content for, right?
Yes.
How does that work? How do you figure out
Mm-hmm.
who is your client?
So it's a mix of, well, if you haven't had any experience or if you haven't had any customers yet, it's a bit harder, obviously, because you can ask your current customers, what they're interested in and the things that how did they choose you and things like that. That always helps. If you already have some customers, then ask them questions about
Okay.
how they chose you and why they're using you compared to other services. But if you don't, a way to do it is to use this little tool that's called sparktoro.com. And what it does is you put in what an audience may be interested in. So you just look at your product. You say, I'm developing X and Y, and I'm interested in seeing, let's put X in this little tool. And what it does is it gives you kind of like some structure of what that persona might look like. Now, I've always
Okay.
used a mix of tools and kind of like informed assumptions about
Mm-hmm.
personas
Mm-hmm.
based off of the data that I see on Google. So, for
Okay.
example, I'll look at the tool first just to get an idea of these things are the primary things that they look for. And then I'll go and actually put those things on Google. And what it does is it
Okay.
gives me kind of like the topics that they're most interested in, and I'll just write those down, either in a spreadsheet or in a notebook. I'll just literally just complete all of the possible topics that I could think about with that specific person in mind. And then one by one, I will start crossing them off, and I will just say, look, this one is more specific to what I care about, right?
Okay.
Because there are going to be a ton of topics that you're going to find, but not all of them will be specific to what you offer. And so you need to cross those off. And once you finish this process, what you have is a nice kind of like list of topics that
Right.
they're interested in.
Right.
And you also
Right.
get a really good idea of who they are.
So the goal is okay. So first, you define your buyer persona, who your client is, with interviews or like trying to figure out who your client is, and then you find out the topics that they're interested or they're searching for, and
Yes.
then you start creating content for those topics or related to
Mhm.
those topics.
Yeah. And it's really important to understand really kind of like the pain point that sits behind those topics. Really, that's the key of creating a buyer persona.
Okay.
If you're creating,
Okay.
so you should create it with the objective of understanding the pain point. And so when you go and look at the topics, you derive the pain point from that and from kind of like informed assumptions. Maybe you did some market research. Maybe you had some experience with previous customers. Obviously, there's a little bit of informed guessing work.
Does that mean that the pain point is not the keyword that the user is searching for?
It might be, but it's not always super, how do you say, direct. Like people don't really type in their pain point in that way. It's really hard to decipher from the keyword itself.
Right. Okay. And then do you think that content is just the blog post? Or, I mean, clearly we have like social media and all of that, but like podcast is a form of content, right? Mm-hmm. Clearly, the blog is a great way to get traffic and to show up on Google. But what other, if we look at content as a whole, we have blog posts, which might be very important. What other different content strategies are there?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Content marketing as a practice, it started primarily around blog posts because that's where the practice itself was giving brands the most value, because they cared about being seen in the marketplace for these specific topics, and Google was the way to do it. However, today, it's a lot different for sure. And that's primarily because technology platforms have gotten better at handling multimedia. So videos, podcasts. Podcasts still have... So the key with content marketing is discoverability, right? You need to be able to be discovered in a way that's natural, that's organic. So I would cross out Facebook. Like Facebook can just disappear.
Because just let me make a quick comment. When you're looking for something, and I just saw that the other day, or actually I didn't saw that, I just thought about that the other day. When you're looking for something on Google, you have a bunch of ads, every day more, right? So originally you had a couple and now you have almost the whole page. And then the next, let's say, bunch of results is video, is YouTube, right? So
yes,
in some keywords maybe. So maybe, like I was thinking, okay, maybe we should do more videos because maybe we'll show up on the first organic search will be YouTube rather than a blog post. So now, as you said originally, like written content, because that was what Google could parse and read. But today we are getting probably podcasts, not as much, but at least video with YouTube. Google has been pushing that up on the search.
Yep. Yeah. And, ultimately, Google's goal is to have people stay on their services as long as possible, right? Because they consume more advertising and things like that. So what they're doing right now is they're pushing multimedia and they're pushing knowledge engines very hard. So knowledge engines is when you get the featured snippet at the top, when you get the people also ask, when you get the little card on the sidebar, and then video as well. And you're absolutely correct about that.
But the knowledge thing, is that coming from Google or is that pointing to another website?
It comes from Google's database that they essentially what they have is entities and they make relationships between stuff. And then if you're able to get those relationships right in your content, then you're more likely to end up on those. But the video is actually has been established that Google is pushing very hard on video, even on Google, the search platform itself. And what happens is you have these websites now that put kind of like a short version of the blog post at the top. And as you scroll down, it sticks to the bottom, right? Or it sticks to the top or whatever. It's been demonstrated that if you put a video at the top with a short version of the content or related content, you rank higher. So that's definitely one of the things that, one of the strategies that I would definitely recommend if somebody has the resources to go and do video as well. And, they like to do video because obviously it takes, you have to show your face, you have to be out there in the public. But also another really powerful thing that I see very few people do and is extremely powerful is making use of schema, which is this, it sounds technical, but it's not really, because when you're using WordPress, for example, you can create these little frequently asked questions at the bottom using their just built-in plugin, and it's completely free. And what it does is it shows the actual questions on the search results page, and it increases your rankings. So when you actually go and look at new topics, you look at the questions that come up on the first page, and you just answer them. It's quite intuitive.
Okay. So there are a lot of different things in terms of content that a small business owner can do, right? Where would you suggest that they start?
Um, for a business that has a very specific offering, I would start from what I call pain point keywords. So you said,
Okay.
well, can we discover the keywords that demonstrate a pain point? Yes, but not the big pain point. The kind of smaller pain points that they're having, like the details, right? And so what these are usually is keywords that are appended by PDF or by spreadsheet or by download or by whatever they want to take action on. It means that these people are trying to accomplish something. They want to accomplish it
Mm,
themselves, but they're having a hard time doing it because if they're searching for it, they're having a hard time doing it. And what
okay.
happens is you have these, you can create these downloadable templates for people. And that's the fastest way to get users in the door quickly. Because users are willing to share their information for something that they perceive as
Mm,
valuable in that moment compared to just information like a blog post. People will never give you their email address unless you have
right.
a really good newsletter, which is very rare.
So you're saying, right, so you need first the content, the blog post, and then the lead magnet. So people come into your website, read something about you, and then you tell them if you want to download this PDF file, whatever, you have to give me your email.
Yeah, and it should be kind of like you should build a relationship with them. One thing, when you get one of those downloads, it's really valuable actually. So when you're getting some of those people in, you could even just reply manually to them. That's something that I would definitely recommend. Obviously, if you're getting hundreds of downloads every
Right.
day, then you make an automation. But if you're getting like 20 per month or something like that, just go in and actually reply to these people and engage with them because you'll see
Mm,
that they actually reply and they're actually interested in what you have to say because they've searched for it in the first place.
right.
But another thing that I wanted to say is start from the downloadable itself. Don't start with the blog post. The blog post
Okay.
goes around the downloadable because otherwise what happens is the messaging gets mixed up. You write the blog post first and then the value is not the value of what you've built in the downloadable isn't transferred onto the article itself. So you should create the downloadable first and then the blog post to go with it.
Okay. What do
Mhm.
you think about these tools, GPT-3 and these AI or machine learning stuff? Like there are tons of tools today that say that they create content, that they give you outlines for blog posts, that they give like actual content, they write paragraphs. So far, the content is not very good. Like you can, I mean, if you're reading that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Um, so, two questions. In a few years, when the content is good, do you think that will affect writers? And the second question is today, or actually, let's start with the second question. Today, you can create a lot of bad content using these things, right? So you put in
Mhm.
a bunch of keywords and it generates tons and tons and tons of words, right? And then you could build a blog, like a very crappy blog, and try to rank for some keywords. Um, so the question is, can you game Google today with those kind of tools?
Hmm. That's interesting. Um, so let me answer one at a time. So the first question is, does it affect writers, right?
Right.
Okay.
Or not today, because I think that
hmm
the content that's creating by these machines today is not good.
hmm
But in a couple years, 3 years, that the content is
hmm
good and readable and it kind of makes sense.
hmm So I've used those tools. I'm a
Okay.
writer. I've always been writing myself. I've been writing for a very long time. I don't like them.
Right.
They're very bad, and the quality is terrible, and it's just
But
not good.
eventually they will be better.
Yes, eventually they will be better with people putting in their information, right? These machine learning tools, they work that way. The more information
Hmm.
from actual people you put in, the
Right.
more the
The
better
better the
the
outputs.
output.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, they will get better, but writers, there are many industries where creative people are battling with technology at the moment. I was a translator before, and there's machine translation, which is getting better. And now you have this in writing as well. And ultimately, the professional figure isn't going to disappear, but it is going to make the client expectation to be faster True. Like that's going to
Okay.
happen. And so that's going to be something that's going to be painful for writers for sure.
Okay.
Because you're going to have to write at a higher quality level with less time and less resources. So less money that clients are paying you. So that's going to happen in, well, I cannot predict the future, but I believe that's going to happen in the 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
And the second question was?
The second
whether you
question
can
is,
game Google.
You game Google? Probably, I have no idea though, but maybe, I don't know, I've seen people creating these blog posts or these blogs with this AI content, which is crap. But maybe you can rank your website by creating that much content with these tools?
Actually, I had an experience at my previous startup with a customer that was doing that. They were just creating tons of automatically generated blog posts, and they were getting nothing. They were getting just a flat line, and they were doing this for months and months and months. So if you're just letting the machine do its thing, it's not gonna happen. But if you use it strategically, then absolutely. So for example, I see the use case for small parts of content, like a meta description, for example, like the description that appears in Google when you search for something. As long as the piece of content is not, vital to the message that you're pushing forward, then yes, you can use it, and it's effective to make it faster, to make the process faster. But you cannot game Google because there's a series of steps that you have to take in order to rank on Google. Like there's a process, a rigorous process that you have to take to rank on Google.
What does that process look like?
So the first thing is obviously the topic itself. You need to look at the topic and understand whether there's a lot of competition. And you can do that with various tools today. Some are free, some are paid. But essentially what you're looking for is the domain authority on the first page of Google. That's the first thing that you have to look at. If you have a first page that you have domain authority 15 out of 100, and you see on the first page like everybody's 80 out of 100, forget it. You're not going to get on the first page. And you have a lot of experts saying, oh, authority doesn't matter. It matters. It actually works, and you get to the first page of Google if you follow it. So that's the first thing. Based on the topic, look at the domain authority. If it's too high, then work on your authority first and then come back later.
Okay. How do you work on your authority?
By building backlinks primarily. So you do guest posting. You go to publications and you say, hey, I have something interesting to share, and they help you with that. Making partners also. If you go with Zapier, Integromat, and they just place a link, and those are really high domain authority websites. That really helps as well. But anyway, that's more of an SEO side of things, which is necessary for content. You do have to think about it. But the second part of the process is ensuring that you're collecting all of the information that appears on the first page in one blog post only. Because Google is so good at understanding what people care about. And what people care about is just opening one blog post, getting all of the information that they need in one blog post, and then just stop looking, right? And you can do this. You had a question about, tools that are making outlines today. And this is where the real future of content is going to go, in tools that are going to make outlines automatically. And that is going to be high quality outlines without a doubt, because that's the most painful part of creating content for Google. That is what takes the longest time, because you have to open literally each page on the first page of Google and look at what content they have, how many words, what type of sections they have, what are they including that your blog doesn't have, how can you enhance this content with media or with your own take. And so you really have to have it all and put something on top. That's what's going to get you on the first page of Google.
So it's a hard job, right? You have to spend a lot of time, spend money, spend time thinking or creating something better than what's already out there.
Yes.
And then when you do that, the next guy comes in, looks at your blog post, and then they try to do something better, right? Does that mean that you need to be updating your old content all the time?
You
Like
need to pay
previous blog
attention.
posts? Like, okay.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
do you just update? Let's say that you have a blog post that you wrote a year ago. Do you update that same blog post, or do you create another one and link to the old one? How does that work?
Yeah, so one way that I do it, and that's really powerful, is using a rank tracker tool. Because you cannot pay attention yet, like you cannot always go on Google and look for stuff all the time, or even Google Search Console. It's very limited. For the audience, if they don't know what Google Search Console is, it's this analytics tool that shows you how many impressions, how many people view you on Google. And so you really need to have at least like a $20 a month tool that tracks your rankings. And you can see if you drop. And if you drop, then you have to see if people actually created better content than you. At that point, what you do is you add something to that blog post. You add something to that blog
Okay.
post compared to what they've done. And then you go in Google Search Console and you say, Google, please re-index this page. And that's gonna kick in Google's algorithm faster.
Wow. The more I learn about content marketing, the more complicated it sounds. It's like
It's a deep tunnel. It never ends.
Yes, it never ends. Because like social media management, I mean, it's not just, right? But you just created the Instagram post and do the hashtag search and publish that. So it's I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's easy. But with content, it's a continuous job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people are like, oh, I'll find someone on Fiverr or Upwork and they'll like put my website in a bunch of links and create a few blog posts and that's it. And that's not it. You have to keep doing that every single, maybe not even day, but every single week. That's something that you have to work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In order to show up.
It's a big topic and it has the potential for a lot of rewards. But as you said initially, it's not for everybody. Like what I would recommend for small companies is go that pain point way to create little downloadable, valuable tools like PDFs and things like that, because they're the easiest to rank for. Nobody wants to do that. Businesses are busy. They don't care that much. And when you look at the authority on the first page of Google, those topics are the ones that will have the lowest authority. So it's going to be the easiest to rank.
But does that mean that the end user is looking for a PDF?
Yeah, a PDF or a spreadsheet or things that are actionable, things that they can use in their own business.
Okay.
Because a blog post is information, whereas a spreadsheet itself, it gives you a visual idea of what a process looks like.
Okay.
Could be a glide template.
Yeah, we have a few. Yeah. Cool. Wow, this is very interesting. Another topic I wanted to talk about is automation, right? Mm-hmm. So there are so many ways to start automating things, right? With content, maybe not so much. There's a lot of manual work because you need either yourself or someone has to look at the previous content, your competitors, the links. When a small business owner, and that happened to me, and that's why I bring it up. The first time you and I spoke, I was like, this is too much. There are so many things that I have to do around content to rank and to show up on Google, right? For a small business that maybe they hire a freelancer or maybe they try to do it or they do it themselves, the business owner or something. We have talked about a lot of things in content. What things do you think can be automated? So in terms of prioritizing your content strategy, what is something that you have to manually do? What is something that you can outsource? And what is something or the things that you can automate? I mean, and we don't have to go like very deep, but like a small, imagine this is a PDF, right? How to create a content strategy. And what is the keywords, the downloadable files, that's something that, let's say, the business owner will have to do because they know their topic, they know what their clients are looking for. What should be, or what would you suggest should be outsourced to a freelancer, and what other things could be automated?
That is an amazing question because that's actually where I was spending most of my time trying to figure out, how can I optimize the process? So there are three things that you have to do manually. Internally to create a proper content strategy. First thing is ideating content, like getting ideas of what content you're going to produce. And so usually that works this way. When you've identified a topic that you're interested in and that there's not a lot of competition, you just create a title. You create a title without having created the blog post first, just the title itself. And you create a list of these titles. Just don't start creating immediately. Get like 12 titles that you like or that may be interesting in the future. That's a thing that you have to do manually, and you have to be creative with it. There are some constraints. I won't go into detail. Then the second thing that you have to do manually is creating that outline for what's going to go in the content itself. So that's the process of going on Google, checking for the content that is in there, and then creating an outline itself. So either a Google document, or if you're using, some tools like Airtable, it has a little page designer that allows you to create outlines automatically. So you don't even have to create the document itself. That's what I was doing previously, and it was really powerful. And the third thing, at that outline stage, what you're doing is you're outsourcing to a writer. That is the most efficient way to do content marketing. Because if you're trying to do content marketing, let's say at scale, or at least not have to spend as much time on it, you're going to have writers. Like there's no way you can ditch that part, but you need outlines for it. So that's a part that you need. You could hire content strategists for the outlines. So you give them some ideas and they create the outlines for you. So if you have the resources to do so, then that's an option. But my personal recommendation, do the outlines internally and then hire a writer to write them. And then the third thing to do manually is to put it on the website itself, which is a boring task.
Now that you have your content on the website, you publish, let's say I'm a small business owner. I just set up my blog, created my outline, my keywords, my blog post, everything. I publish my post in my blog. No one visits that blog post, right? What do you do to get more people other than wait for Google to rank, hopefully, your blog post very higher on the first page or something? What else can you do? Because now you spend a lot of time or you spend money like figuring out the keyword and figuring out the outline. You did so many things and you get 20 visits to your blog post. What can you do to get more people to come in?
So there is an inherent risk in content marketing in, doing this rigorous process and then you don't get the results. And it happens. It obviously does happen. But what you can do is first look at the analytics. 1 week after, 2 weeks after, because Google Search Console always tells you something. And what it tells you is whether what you've written isn't really tuned to the things that you thought you would reach, but rather the keywords that are showing in Google Search Console. And so at that point, what you can do is you can restructure the blog post to say, okay, Google is saying that these are the keywords that are, they're looking for this specific blog post. Let's kind of restructure the blog post to fit those. Otherwise, what you can do is you can break the blog posts down into smaller subsection and just share them on social media. Social media is obviously, it's good for content marketing, especially Twitter and LinkedIn at the moment. But you have to make sure that what you're cutting out of the blog post, you're not just doing to push traffic to that post, but rather just as a quick way to improve your audience elsewhere. So on Twitter, on LinkedIn, because if you try to push traffic back to the blog post, then those algorithms are going to penalize you. And they're going to say, no, we don't want you to actually push people out of Twitter or LinkedIn or things like that. But I do, if you're investing a lot in reaching the first spots of Google, I do encourage to look at the analytics.
Do you think it's worth for in this case, small business owners creating their content strategy to do outreach to get their link included in someone else's blog or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if one of your blog posts, and this happens all the time, it was really frustrating, it reaches the top of the second page and it never goes anywhere from there. And I've written the right stuff, but I need links. I need links to get to the first page. So really, you'll hear this.
The link should go to that blog post or to your main website, or it doesn't matter?
To that.
To the
Both
blog.
matter, but if you want that specific blog post to end up on the first page, you need the link to the specific blog post. You'll hear this all the time. Content is about content. Well, sorry, content marketing is about content and links. So you'll hear this all the time. Right. Original content that's made for humans and links back to that content. And you'll always reach the first page of Google as long as it's relevant to what you offer. Because Google does care that who's writing the content actually has the expertise to talk about it.
This is great. This is great advice.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that we missed that you want to mention in terms of content?
I think we've covered a lot of ground, actually. I think one thing that I will mention is what you said about content outline tools. Those are already getting really good. And if, $50 a month, $100 a month, there's this tool called Market Muse, but also another tool that's called Surfer SEO. These are the two primary ones. They're very good. They speed up the outline process a lot. And so they're worthy investments if somebody's going into content marketing.
That's interesting. Any other tool, might be content related or not, that you would suggest small business owners? I know you are a big fan of Airtable. You use that a lot, the automations, mini extensions. That is like a plugin for Airtable. Any other, what else is in your tech stack? What else do you use on a daily basis?
I was obviously going to say Airtable. But that's because of the labeling. That like Airtable, essentially content is all about labeling, and Airtable is great about that. Like it does it very well. But yeah, pretty much I was using that. I was using a rank tracking tool. I was using Ahrefs, which is quite expensive, but what you have now is SE ranking, which is like $15 per month, and you can do a bunch of keywords. So rank tracking is definitely something that you need to use if you're pursuing this content route, and then Surfer SEO. So these three are enough.
Great. Arrigo, where can people learn more about content marketing, follow you? Where can we send them to? Twitter?
Sure.
Or do you have a website?
For content marketing specific, the Ahrefs blog is pretty much the most accurate place to learn about it. Or Backlinko, which is
but if they want to follow you.
Okay.
Learn from you.
Yeah, true. This is time for self-promotion. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Well, right now I'm very active on Twitter, which is where I share everything that I know about content and marketing in general. So Arrigo, Arrigo, Lupori, Lupori. So Arrigo Lupori is my handle. And I'm also launching a new project that's called Wiser Course on the 18th of December. And that's going to be for independent course creators who would like to, reach more people through their independent websites or independent glide applications, as in for selling courses, obviously.
Right.
So those are the two primary places where they can reach me.
Great.
Awesome.
I'll put the links on the notes. Great. Awesome. Arrigo, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you as well. Thanks. Bye. Have a good one. Bye.